Hello everyone, a few days ago, I was suggested to register my channel for the 2020 Bordeaux Geek Fest Awards. Good news, it has been selected for the fiction category and is in the final. To win, my channel needs to gather enough votes for the contest, and luckily, it is possible to vote for my channel once a day. The link is available in the description and will be until the end of the votes on May 3rd of this year. Feel free to share the link and vote if you have a minute. It would greatly help the channel's development. Thank you again for all these wonderful opportunities you are offering me. You are undoubtedly the best community any YouTuber could ever hope for. Without further ado, here is a story about the latest Animal Crossing, which I wrote for the occasion. Enjoy the viewing and have a good scare, everyone. I don't know where to start. First of all, I've done something horrible, without thinking even once that the consequences would be so dramatic. Then, I have the impression that there is no way for me to go back. I believed the Animal Crossing series was innocent, without any horrible secrets. And I was heavily mistaken. It is possible to kill the residents. But what's even worse is that doing so is not without consequences. I care little about the game's negative consequences. On the other hand, that it is in real life, that's another story. I'm going to tell you how I killed my residents in Animal Crossing New Horizons. It was a rainy day in the game. When it rains, I usually go fishing to make some bells. The fish I sought only appears when it rains. It was then a chance for me to search for it. I crafted a fishing rod and went off to search for it. After about an hour, I stumbled upon it. After getting the fish, I returned to Mellymello's to sell it and checked out what he had on display in the window. I wasn't sure if it was a bug or an intentional part of the game at the time, but there was a razor blade in the display window. I hesitated for a moment, but I was curious. What could this blade possibly be used for? I was scared to buy it despite its low price of 1,000 bells. In my eyes, it had no place in this shop, let alone behind the display window. Was it a tool? After a brief pause, my curiosity prevailed. I bought it without thinking for a second that my backup could have suffered if it had been a visual bug. But Lee then replied to me, "Are you really sure you want to buy that?" The message was strange, and I almost hesitated to say yes, but as you can guess, I didn't hesitate for long. The message was strange, unlike anything I'd read before in the game. But my curiosity was so strong that I couldn't control it. After all, it's just a razor blade. At that moment, I imagined it could be used to shave a beard. I left the building and tried to equip myself with the blade, but nothing. I could only drop it on the ground or store it at my place. I then imagined that it would serve me later, surely for craft, a real razor, and so I kept it at my place. In the meantime, I continued my day normally, and I spoke to most of my villagers. Everything was normal. Some taught me a good number of expressions, and others still offered me some furniture and clothes. Then, I noticed strange dialogues coming from Kali, you know, that little rabbit who particularly loves the Japanese universe. Usually, if you know the game, Kali's an adorable person who spends her time talking about bodybuilding, that's her character trait. But there, her dialogues were disturbing. When I asked her how she was doing, she would answer me coldly, sometimes only by putting 3 little dots. But the most alarming thing was her other response, "I don't feel like talking." I then thought of a new feature of the game, that the inhabitants could actually get depressed. The inhabitants often fell down, but never like this. Kelly remained seated under a tree, her gaze empty towards the sea. He did that from 11 ante-meridium to 6 post-meridium. I tried to cheer him up by trying to give him his daily gift, but he systematically refused them. I didn't remember that the residents could refuse gifts. So I tried to bring him all possible gifts to see if he would accept one. But nothing. Finally, I had only one thing left to offer him. It was the razor blade. I then put it in the inventory, and I went under the tree where Kali used to sit all day. Then I offered her a gift again. This time, the dialogue was different. Kali opened her eyes wide and accepted the razor blade without flinching. His next words were confusing, and I sensed severe consequences would follow. "Thank you, this is exactly what I needed." He then got up and went back into his house. I had a lump in my throat. What was going through my head? Giving this kind of object to a person who is depressed, even if it is Animal Crossing, I had a bad feeling. I was really hoping that what I feared wouldn't happen. I rushed to Kaylee's place for the first time ever. The door wouldn't open, even though the lights in his house were on, had he locked it. I had absolutely no idea, but I was unable to open the door for the rest of the evening. And for the first time, I performed a time travel, and I advanced the console's time by 1 day. I couldn't wait until the next day to learn Kaylee's fate. So the new day started with the usual speech from Nook, but this time, the text was really different. Nook looked disappointed and seemed almost to cry. After a moment, he spoke without saying anything. "Dear residents, I cannot hide my sadness after the tragic disappearance of Kali. I don't know what to tell you, I didn't know this was possible. Ending a stay on such a beautiful island is unthinkable." His last sentence made my heart tighten. "You can leave flowers in front of his house in memory of your friend, but never enter his house. He is still there. Thank you all." I felt nauseous. How could such an innocent game like Animal Crossing hide such a horrible feature? I refused to believe it. Yet it was the case. Kaylee must have used the razor blade I gave her. I felt a deep hatred towards the game's producers, but also a morbid curiosity. What would happen if I went into Kali's house? We, who had been formally denied access. But I wasn't that close anymore. I don't know what disgusted me more, the game producer's choices, or the unhealthy curiosity I was feeling. I walked towards Kali's house and I saw flowers, a lot of flowers. I had a slight edge with the turmoil, as all the flowers were hybrids. I positioned myself in front of her house and waited for a moment. I felt an imminent danger. I had the impression that opening her door was going to have catastrophic consequences. But I didn't want to hear anything. I didn't listen to my sixth sense, and I opened it. The first thing I noticed was that it was dark, really dark. I could hardly see anything. I then tried to move and I repeatedly pressed the A button to try to find a light and turn it on. Luckily, Kali had a small bedside lamp in her house, because the room lit up with one click. Kali was indeed there, lying on her bed, but her eyes were wide open and no longer had pupils. Blood was flowing from her arm and bed. To come and spill on her floor, I held back a scream. And I almost threw my console. So much so, I was surprised by the horror that was unfolding before my eyes. The razor blade given to Kali was at the end of her bed. Mechanically, I approached it and picked it up. The very moment the blade ended up in my inventory, Kaylee's lifeless body spoke. "You killed me. You didn't help me. You pushed me to do it. You didn't help me. You pushed me to do it. You didn't help me. You pushed me to do it." The messages kept appearing one after the other, always with the same content. My heart was beating very fast, and I was about to turn off my switch when a new message, different this time, appeared on the screen. "I'm going to help you do it too." The screen of my console crackled, and Kaylee's body started to shake. Strangely, I saw him sit on his bed, then turn in my direction. The light from the game was turning off and on in a unique rhythm. It was as if the bulb was about to explode. I saw Kaylee slowly approaching my character, but little by little, I noticed that her path was not what I thought. He circled around my character and faced the wall. Then, without warning, Kaylee raised her head as my console started making strange noises. And he spoke in a strange voice, "I see you." My console then turned itself off. In panic, I threw it on my bed and went out to get some air in the garden. I was once again wondering how such horrors could hide in a game like that one. I couldn't believe it, but I had to check if all of this was true or if I had simply imagined everything. So I went back to my room after taking a moment, and I turned the console back on. My hands were shaking, but I couldn't help it. I had to know for sure. None of this could be true. It's impossible. The game selection screen appeared. I started it, and after a moment, I got another message from Nook. This last one was as normal as can be, too normal for what just happened in the game. Once his speech was over, I headed towards Kelly's house, but instead, there was a tent, and inside, a new resident, Monica. I spoke to all my residents, but nothing. It was as if this event had never happened. I was both reassured but disturbed. I had imagined everything, but on the other hand, I was worried about my mental health. Even if none of this was true. The game erased everything, which wasn't so bad, honestly. I haven't played Animal Crossing since then and have no desire to. I plan to begin seeing a psychiatrist in the near future. Even if I had imagined it all, my life has changed forever. I can't find the joy of living anymore. I don't even want to enjoy the good weather. I don't even want to play any game. Since that day, I think about horrible things, like death, torture, and so on. I'm clearly depressed. I plan to contact the psychiatrist, even though he likely won't be able to help. I know that these events probably came from my imagination, but I have a doubt. I have a doubt, because I dream of this horrible scene every night. Since then, I also hear some kind of whispers late at night, urging me to do it. I have a doubt, because even if my brain is probably sick, there are things that are really present. Like what I find every morning at the foot of my bed when I wake up. After all, I might be able to use it one day. I don't know yet, but I don't have to worry, I presume. They're just razor blades after all.